Testing. Okay, I should be here. You should be able to hear me now. That should be good. Hopefully. Sorry about that. Let's see. Should be good now. Let me know in the comments. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes the thing was, is it double sound or no? It should be the road. It should be the road that should be up, which is weird. This is the road. The road's not pulling any sound. I wonder why. There he goes. There we go. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that's good. Hopefully it's good. Let me see. This is. I don't want this. I want the road only. Take it off. Why is the road not going? That's stupid. Okay. Well. It is what it is. If the sound works, if it sounds good, then that's it. Okay, still can't hear you. That doesn't make sense. I can hear. Okay. So at least the mic, I guess it's probably taking in from the Mac, which shouldn't be, but it is what it is. If there's a problem, I can go back and check that again. But let's see. We want to dive into a bunch of oil plays because we have the hack, right? The pipeline is all messed up, right? We had that news. I can pull up some news actually really quick. Let's just do that. Oil news, because this will pull us and get us the most accurate information. Here it is. So oil traders, oil workers, everything we got going on right now. Pipeline, the America's largest fuel pipeline after a cyber attack. This is threatening to send gas prices, everything soaring. So the current gas price average is sitting like just under, what is it? Just under like $3 is the U.S. average right now. That is, yeah, so 296 is the current average. Zoom in a little bit. 296 is the current average, and so the concern is that this is about to skyrocket over 3. Now, they were thinking that this is going to probably go over 3 around or just after Memorial Day, which is, coming up at some, coming up relatively soon, actually, now you think about it, which starts the summer months, right? I guess everyone starts traveling more and people start using gas more and stuff. But the concern is that this may actually happen a lot sooner rather than later because of this. So where I'm looking is I'm looking for some oil plays, which I luckily have had one that I started to snag, which is CEI. But we want to talk about more than just that. So I'm looking for other ones. If we get some attention on CEI and some others, I will be looking at playing some of these. So it looks like low 60s is a bounce up for CEI. So let's pull up the daily on this one. I have some. Let's see. I have 2,500 for right now, and I was just kind of accumulating some more. If it did dip, I'd probably come back and buy some more. Let's see. Oh, I missed a lot in the chat. Let's see. Gas stocks, because pipeline tap. Yep. MPLESLCLFVIST. In all gas stocks. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up, but at least the ones, my oil plays that I've liked. But yeah, those seem like those are definitely worth putting on the list. I have a pretty big list as well as it is. USCG, yep, that's on my list personally. I have USCG on there. Actually, got to take a look at some of those charts because I haven't looked at that one in a while. But CEI I've been paying attention to. So like CEI, this is range. This can go to $1 if we get enough. This is one of those plays that'll drop news at some point and it'll spike. So I'm not really concerned about this one, but. Let's pull up USCG. Where is USEG? US Energy. This is actually, it's been sitting kind of just sitting here. We got support down here to like 350-ish, sitting at 436. I kind of like where it's at right now. This is one that could certainly pop a lot. So I like USCG setup as well. Has range. This is like these plays. The question is going to be though, where do traders want to go? Because what we've had in the past couple of weeks is we've either had Monday, Tuesday kind of like set the tone, and if we get some good runners Monday, Tuesday, and some sympathy plays off of those, then they kind of resurge throughout the week if nothing else catches. So I'm curious to see there if oil catches. If oil doesn't catch, then they'll probably end up circling, or something else catches. Let's say Monday morning there's some stock that has some fire news, boom, then that'll catch and that'll be that. But if oil doesn't catch, or if nothing catches, I wouldn't be surprised if oil starts getting some attention. We'll see if traders want to hit this one up or want to hit oil up in general, because there are some low float plays in oil. So if we just dive into some of these floats, I'll pull up FinViz. Let's just pull up FinViz really quick, and we could dive into some of the floats. I mean, zoom in on this one. because not only does I think let's check CEI. CEI has a float of 25 mil. It's actually not that low. So that's kind of a slower mover. But USEG has a float of 3.71 mil. Low float stocks have been going crazy. USEG fits that mold. USEG could go crazy this week. On top of that, HUSA, my best friend HUSA. I made money on this one, but then it kind of just petered out past couple of months. But 6 million float on HUSA. HUSA. This is another one. A 6 million float there. What else? ENSV. ENSV is an 8 million float. What else do I have? Those are like the main ones that I have at least traded in the past. Great signal. Oil futures gapping up. Yep, I saw /CL was pushing up. So those are where I'm going to probably be at least tomorrow. We'll see. And also, summer gas. Let's see. The other thing, too, is that last year they went hard. These tickers went nuts. If you go back to like ENSV, USCG, go back to, I want to say it was June. Yeah, they went pretty hard in June. USCG didn't go that crazy in June, but from end of May through June, right, USEG, this is actually now going to probably set me up for this week. I'm probably going to be accumulating a bunch of these tickers this week. Just as some swings. This one went over 200% from the end of May through mid-June. USEG, if you were swinging it. CEI, let's go back to last year around this period. Where is this? CEI, okay, this is back to October. This is going back to more recently. CEI's got a crazy looking chart. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Here it is. So if I scroll back, sorry for the mess in the chart. If I scroll back to CEI last June, CEI goes from 125 to 260. So crazy move on CEI last June. So there was a pretty crazy oil run. I remember I was a part. I think I had a crazy day, at least percentage-wise that day, because I had a bunch of oil plays and I sold way too early on oil. Now I know if they go crazy, they're going to go. I mean, again, the market hasn't been that great, but for low float plays, they've been running. And then HUSA, I think HUSA went crazy as well. HUSA, go back to that same period last June, goes from 150 to 275. So they all have that kind of run around the same time period last year. So I like snagging these as plays into a pre-summer run. Again, you see prices generally kind of going up, and now add this into the mix, add this news, and I think they're set up for some good moves. So that's number one. So for those of you who are coming in after the fact, watch this later on, that's at least probably where I would be most focused this week. And of course, if they don't catch, they don't catch. But if they do, they like to run pretty hard. So you want to be, these are not stocks you want to be getting in like after it's up 20, 30, 50% on the day. Definitely not, unless you're going to be day trading it strictly and you're kind of looking for a scalp move and that's what you're doing. But the way that I prefer these plays is just being in before the herd, have a good chunk of shares, and ride it up on the swing, scale out on the way up. This way, it's a lot less stressful. Yeah, obviously, if it doesn't catch on, you could run the risk of kind of holding the thing as it kind of falls back off. So you don't want to be buying these things when they're up, obviously. But they have been getting hit pretty hard. They've come back down nicely, so they're setting up pretty nice. I like that. 3-day plays last night, or their day, LEDS. So yeah, these 3-day plays, RHE, we'll look at this one first. RHE, I have a short on it though. I think I only have 25 shares. I have some buys set for it in case it hits. But RHE, kind of one of those plays that had its kind of run every couple of days. These like to move. But the 3-day, it's kind of general rule of thumb is, let's see, LEDS. General rule of thumb is that about 3 days later after a run, after a spike, you generally kind of get the sellers and you kind of work through that first batch of shorts and you get some sellers out of the stock. And many times you see some covering, and many times kind of fresh buyers in a sense can come back into that stock. And so you kind of had the first run on LEDS here on the 4th. Then 3 days later have kind of passed. This is pulled back, but the same type of pattern. If this thing sets up like RHE, LEDS will go again this week. Now the question is going to be, let's look at the 1 hour chart. It's kind of helpful to look at this. So I like to see if we can line something up here. So on LEDS, what we're looking at is right now we have tried to find some support here in the mid 7 range, up around 8. So between like 850 and 750, it's trying to consolidate for right now. There is the high back here from the 4th is up around 715, 7-ish. So if it comes down to 7, I would probably give it down to like $7 if it's going to bounce. So maybe down towards $7 if it does dip further. But I wouldn't be surprised if this one kind of continues with a little bit of a bounce type of look into tomorrow. I want to pull up RHE's chart as well for that because, let me just clean this up. Okay, so RHE was interesting because what you can kind of watch is what it did was it pushed up it would pull back, and it would pull back kind of to the prior high. So, bless you. It would push up on the 30th here, had the first kind of push to 10, then it ripped up here to 16, then it pulled back, but where did it pull back to? It pulled back to 10, the prior highs from the 30th. Then it made the crazy move to 26 plus, then it comes back, and where did it find support here on this turn, on this pullback? It found support back at the prior highs that it had from the prior run up to like that 14 to 16 range. It found support there and pushed on up. So now RHE, I think at some point it's going to fall off. Here's the trend line though. If it comes down to like on my first area, I'm looking for like that 14, 15. If it falls below that 14, 15, it's probably going to fall off and eventually, you know, peter on out. But if it does push even higher, I'll add to my short small, nothing crazy. But the thing that I see with an RHE short, it's a little more expensive in terms of hard to borrow rates. I don't want to be holding this one for like more than a week, ideally. I think I want to kind of cover my short on this pretty quick, but it's not a large amount of shares. And my thought process with doing that is you have to kind of catch those shares early. So what I'll do is in the pre-market hours, I'm like, okay, I'll either like grab some more shorts because that's when there's usually availability, depending upon the broker and stuff. And then what I'll do is I'll set some sells, or I'll set some like short sells up. So that's what I did actually on Friday. I kind of noticed it looks like it wants to potentially run here in the pre-market hours. It was holding up pretty well. I was looking for a flush out in the pre-market. It didn't happen. So I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set some shorts up over 20, and they hit. So it brought my average up, actually. So I was able to kind of lock in those shorts early on in the pre-market. And then they ended up hitting intraday when there was even no availability to kind of initiate a short position at that point. So I could do that further on RHE, is set some more shorts if it goes even higher, 25 plus, because this is one where I'm looking to short a small amount of shares, but I'm looking to short it for dollar moves. So I'm not looking to short this thing for like 20 cents. I'm looking at this thing and saying, hey, this thing comes back down to 10 bucks. That's an $8 move, right? How many shares do you need on an $8 move to make some significant money? You don't need that much at the end of the day. Now, of course, you don't want to have this thing bleed you out in terms of hard to borrow fees, which it's up around, I believe, 100%-ish hard to borrow fee, which isn't terrible for a day or two hold. You don't want to be holding this thing for multiple days or weeks. Then it starts to stack up your fees, and it's like, okay, is it really worth it if I'm not making a large amount of percentage gain on this play? That's at least that. Let's see. You own Webull 5.0. I think whatever the latest update from Webull is, I think I got that. So whatever that is, then yes. CCXI. I feel like I've heard of this stock. Or I didn't trade this stock. Oh, this is one that fell off a lot. Yeah. Okay. This one fell off quite a bit, but I would like to see if it holds up here in this $10 area. It did dip. I was looking at it actually on Friday because it was one of the biggest losers on the day. The only thing that I didn't like about it necessarily was that it's already down a lot, and I was like, hey, it's downtrending here in pre-market. You probably get an opening flush, and when I noticed the first candle of this kind of flushing out, I just didn't want to mess with it, so I didn't personally touch it. But if we look at the daily on it, it is super oversold, but it's come right back down to a pretty decent range that we had in the past. So I would kind of say this thing gets down under 10. Seems like it could be a potential accumulation zone. I don't know enough about them though. I haven't looked into them. But under 10 doesn't look too shabby. Got a gap up here to about 17-ish. So there's range on this chart. There's quite a bit of range. I just don't know what exactly caused this absolute collapse, right? Which doesn't sound good. So that's that. ALF, 13 filing, 60% ownership, 3 people, which means there's a lot of shares locked. Yes, I saw ALF was pushing up because of those filings on Friday. Pull this bad boy up. This is a recent IPO. It finished, I was looking at it on Friday, potentially even, I think I was looking at it in the 20s, the 420s, which was like right here. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't want to mess with it right now. And so I didn't take it because I was just kind of watching it. I didn't take the day trade, and it actually could have been nice. I could have made a play from like 425 to 450 and taken my shares off there, and that was it. But I didn't play it. It's probably going to get attention this week, though. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a low float play, I believe, as well. Let's check on the float. I wonder if it's even available here. I want to say it was like a super low float. And that's not pulling anything up, but shares outstanding here of 11 million, so the float's got to be pretty small on that, and there's some significant owners there too. Often suspicious of the Twitter trends. Yeah, Yeah, that's the thing. So it's fine. Like if you catch like the whole point about like all that stuff on Twitter and doing that stuff. When we look at futures are looking pretty good now. Looking pretty good. VIX down. We got small caps looking up. Everything's up about 0.25% or more roughly. The problem with the whole Twitter thing is that you end up buying something like if you play a low float, right? If you saw a tweet about ALF, right? You probably saw that tweet when it was up over like 430ish or even potentially over 450. You're in the red already on those shares potentially if you're buying over 450. So that's the problem, is that I don't like. I mean, I've been burned on that stuff, you know, in the past for sure. But if I'm following somebody on Twitter, obviously that's never the best way to go about it personally, because you end up buying it, you're getting a worse average unless you're taking a small scalp. You know, it's just not the best way to go about it. I like to find stuff before somebody else on Twitter calls it out, ideally. Or if you're noticing someone who's calling a stock out, who's trying to pump a stock, they go quiet for a couple days, then you pick up the shares. They're probably going to tweet about that stock to get themselves out of that position at a minimum, right? To get out, because they're probably in from a higher average. Then you can come in and grab those shares while it's been quiet, and probably be okay on that swing or on that trade most of that. So if you're going to play off of that, there's ways to do it. For example, NAKD is one that kind of got like a Twitter pump, I feel like, a while back. Let's take a look at NAKD. I think last week or something like that. Not NAKD. Here we go. So what do we have on NAKD? We had this thing is a crazy play, but it bounced pretty nicely here at the 200 SMA, which was up around 45 cents or so. It bounced, it went to like 75 plus, and then it had that kind of Twitter pump, but look where it's at. It's back at 54. So this is coming back down to a pretty good spot. I would like to see if it holds up over 50 cents on NAKD. Worst case scenario, 200 SMA, so maybe down to like 45. That's where I'd cut it. But this is one that could get those Twitter gurus, whatever you want to call them, right, back on it, which could get enough volume for you to make a nice 10% on the trade if you want to kind of pick it up now. I don't have any, but that's kind of an idea, because it's one of those stocks I saw, and it's a stock that gets a lot of attention. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if NAKD, if small caps heat up, this is one that runs back up to $1. Would not be surprised. It's a stock that we've been playing for, you know, years, it seems like, you know. I've been trading NAKD, you know, either for day trades or for swings, you know, here and there for like, I feel like, you know, a year and a half, right? Just one of those stocks. They're waiting on July for FDA approval. Discussed last week, went from a 90% chance of being approved to a 50% chance. A lot of analysts believe it will be FDA approved. Regardless, you can't go wrong with that price. Comms, look, see, I like comms a lot, actually. Let's pull it up. Where's comms? Comms Saturn. Here it is. I mean, I like it a lot, and it really depends on how this plays out this week. It's down. $2 is solid support on comms, and it's, I mean, where it seems like it bounced beautifully off of the 2 area, or just under 2. So comms comes down here. I have a little more that I want to buy. So if it comes down sub 2, if I see anything under 2, I'm buying that. Unless there's obviously news or something that happens, right? That changed my mind. But anything under 2, I'm probably going to buy on comms. What SPY is going to do tomorrow? Yeah, that's the other thing too. What SPY is that it is up there, right? It's up there. It is. Let's pull it up. It's at that trend line again, though. You know, trend line. It seems like it wants to kind of break out of this even, you know, uptrending resistance right here. It wants to go for, you know, more vertical. I mean, it might, but I am interested as well. I think that, to be honest, unless we get some really bad news somewhere, or we get some unexpected news, or we get some significant inflation news, right? Until we get like something like that, that's different in terms of what we've been kind of seeing, because those job numbers that came out this past week, they were bad. But the thing about that is that that's showing that, hey, there's a lot more work to be done in terms of recovery, right? Now, you can make the argument that that's not true. It's because people are being incentivized to not go back to work because they're getting paid, whatever you want to call it. I know, I mean, this is a random fact, but in Montana, apparently that's an issue where you're having issues. People don't want to go back to work in Montana. So I believe that the Montana's paying, or it's like incentivized, it's like paying you $1,200 just to go back to work. Like a one-time payment or something like that. Like, it's just crazy, but like that's the type of stuff that like you're kind of seeing in terms of that. So maybe that's not maybe. I'm sure that plays a role in terms of those numbers, those job numbers. But yeah, I don't know. SPY has been super strong. BCTX sitting at low. Let's see BCTX. I'm in this guy. I think I reloaded this guy as well this past week. BCTX. Yeah, it's back down to the low spot. I mean, I like it. If this thing goes on BCTX, I'm leaving my last chunk, or I'm leaving some cash available, and I'm going to hammer this one under 3. If it goes under 3, I'll buy a lot more. But for right now, I mean, I'm just chilling with what I have. I think it's pretty good. I have an average, I want to say like 343-ish, so like right around where it's at. Not that bad. But this thing goes under 3, yeah, I'll buy more. I'm curious to see how this week goes too. I'm really kind of expecting, in a sense, after last week, which actually wasn't that bad in terms of the swings, at least for me, numbers wise, dollar amount wise, percentage wise, and stuff like that. I'm kind of expecting this week is going to be better on that front. And so the thought process for me is like, hey, if we still see momentum like we kind of saw last week in terms of daily runners and in terms of even play and stuff long and short, I think that should be a pretty good week in terms of opportunity. And I think my swings are decently at lows. I mean, any day now they can reverse if they want to. So it's going to be an interesting week, I'm sure. SNDL it's a weird one. I don't know. Tilray looked pretty good last week, so SNDL bounced. SNDL, actually, here it is. At that 200 SMA, around like 69 cents, 70 cents. Maybe give it down to that area for SNDL. Outside of that, I don't know. It's been a kind of a lame one. The thing that I will say about SNDL, you can't deny this has been one of the craziest volume plays. I mean, like, you look at this stock on any given day, there's a good chance that SNDL is the number one or one of the top couple tickers across the entire market in terms of volume of shares traded. Now, okay, yeah, it's a sub $1 stock, but you're talking about every day this thing is trading over 150 million shares, like 200 million shares, like every single day. It's got that volume. So we'll see. We will see. Scrolling up. BXRX, oversold biotech. Let's take a look at this. BXRX. I feel like I've seen this name a couple times. How is it? Oh, wow, that's pretty over. It had earnings, right? So that probably dropped it down. But that is oversold. So let's see if it holds up around 80 cents. That was low. Let's see if it holds there. But this could be an opportunity, I think, back up potentially towards $1. Yeah, you got a lot of. This is one I definitely played. All right, maybe I missed it. I forget. Yeah. Oh, I remember this one. I was all over it. I liked it a lot. And then I had it dip down. It dipped under $1, and I think I cut it off. I decided to cut it off because it was kind of hanging around. I had a couple days where it dipped below $1, like here and there, back in in December. Little did I know, right, that it would go crazy. And then eventually it went up over 100%, over 2, a couple months later by mid-Feb. Nuts. I mean, I remember being pissed about that one because I had it on my list. I was ready to go, and I had this gap. I was like, oh man, this looks gonna be a great play. And then I just got stopped out on that. Is what it is. You live and you learn, right? Let's see. Said they won't raise rates now until 2023. Yeah, I mean, that's a thing. I mean, it looks like that is why the markets were looking really good last week to finish off last week, is simply because the bad job numbers, hey, that's more fuel to the fire in terms of keeping rates low, right? We're not raising, not touching them for a while. And at some point, too, what's going to also happen, you're going to realize is that even when, oh my gosh, like rates are going to go up, and let's say like in a year from now or 2 years, they decide that they raise them, we'll already know it's coming. So it's not going to be a surprise. The thing is that if it's a surprise, like all of a sudden right now, Powell comes out and is like, yeah, might have to raise rates earlier than we thought. Then everyone's going to freak the heck out, and it's going to be like, oh gosh. Then, market's going to come down for a couple of days, maybe even longer, and then eventually they'll be like, oh, it's not that bad, okay, whatever. Just that's what's going to happen. I'm in the restaurant industry, fancy private place, pays everyone, yeah. HRTX, PDUFA date coming up. I'm gonna do a run play on it, but it's not. Let's look at that, HRTX. That's not a bad idea, though. If it's not looking good now, it looks not that bad. It's fine. It's going to be a decent idea of a spot. Honestly, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, let's pull up let's look at percentages, percent-wise. If you play this thing down to the lows here, that's only 13%. I mean, it's not that bad. I'm at least accustomed to some significant volatility, at least in more like penny stock plays. So I look at this chart, I'm like, hey, like it's actually not at a terrible spot. It's not like at like a bottom kind of. It's kind of like in between. We have some resistance up here in this like 18 to like low 20s, and we got some support here in like the 15 to like 12, 13 area. So it's kind of in between, which isn't like ideal. But with a PDUFA run-up idea, then that could be a decent idea on this play. So maybe it actually makes some sense here. So the whole thing with like the whole support resistance and like in terms of the video that I put out, I think today, was I like to be buying or selling at least closer to one area, right? So if I'm not, like for example, MVIS is a stock. People are like, oh man, you gotta get in MVIS, like you gotta play it. I played it short, I played it long. I mean, I don't care, but right now I don't like MVIS. Why? It's in between. We're literally in between two key levels. We're up around this 19 and then down around this 10. Until you pick a direction here, MVIS, I don't care. It's not worth the trade of saying, yeah, I think it's going to go back down to 10 and shorting it here for it to go to like 19 and then get rejected and then go back to 10 in like 2 weeks. It's just not worth it. So I just don't want to be messing with stuff that's in between personally, unless there's a reason why any PDUFA run-up could be the reasoning why you may actually take that trade and have, you know, potential limit buy orders ready to go down below where it's at towards support if it does dip further. Let's see. Be careful on FDA approvals. Yes, for sure. Many been getting delayed. Yes. Let's see. What do we want to pull up? What's next? One to pull up. I want to pull up some shippers. CTRM is one. CTRM. Yeah, I'm sorry about the tickers, because when I pull up a ticker, it's going to be up in the top right. It says it a couple spots across the platform. I know it's a little bit small, especially on mobile. Unfortunately, that's how it is. Like I can't really make that bigger. I wish I could. If I was to try to actually move this widget over, right? What's going to happen is obviously the chart gets smaller and it doesn't actually increase the size unless I made it it really doesn't increase the size of the actual ticker symbol. So I'm like, okay, I got to find some sort of balance, and that's what I've kind of found, at least for now, at least chart wise. So in videos, I overlay a bigger ticker symbol up on the screen because I can. Right now, I can't really. So unfortunately, I know it's kind of a pain. Dogecoin, man. I mean, let's pull it up again. What is it at? What is it at now? I'm not surprised at what happened though. I think it makes sense. You know, sell the news. Everyone needed a reason to sell it, so they got the reason to sell it. Now, if you bought it, you bought it, and you made a little scalp on it, or you got that dip for potentially a longer term hold. I don't know. I don't have any. Unfortunately, I sold mine a while back, but that's my mistake. I think I sold it like 7 cents. Is where I sold my Dogecoin. I sold at like 7 cents. I had it from like sub a penny, so I was like, I'm not gonna complain about this. Little did I know how much it could, how much of a continuation we get. Thoughts on the gambling stocks? I love DKG. I love DraftKings. I love Penn. I'm seeing some stuff. I'm also kind of looking at some other things in terms of they're getting killed, but I'm looking at some other stuff in terms of unusual options volume. It's another thing that I've been kind of at least messing around with lately in terms of looking at that. There's some companies and there's some places and platforms that allow that. Potentially, maybe working with one at some point, but we'll see the details on that. But I've been kind of watching some of that, and then recently I've been noticing that for on DraftKings and Penn, I believe there were some unusual high options volume on puts. So yeah, we're seeing those dips. I mean, it is what it is. But I actually don't have any DraftKings, but I think I'm gonna pick it up, as this is actually looking really good. Meanwhile, I think it's at that trend line, so I wouldn't be surprised for a nice bounce on DraftKings come tomorrow, come this week, ideally. If this wants to hold, this would be the third point on the trend line. So in order for me to say this is a valid trend, DraftKings would have to kind of hold this 48. If it can't hold 48, I gotta probably delete this trend line for now, right? But I like them. That's why I like these. I like my ELYS is my small cap play in the space. ELYS is my play. I like this one a lot. I think it's actually, I was saying, I think in the video this weekend, that it could be setting up for a free fall. To be honest, I don't know. I was looking at this chart again now. I'm looking at it. I like it right here. I think it probably will hold up here in the upper threes around 4. 200 SMA support at $3.70 on ELYS. I like this one a lot at 370-ish. And I bought some this week. I think it's my largest position, I want to say, or one of my largest positions right now in terms of swings. Small cap swings, yeah. So I like it a lot. I think we're going to get a bounce. I think we're going to get this thing to bounce significantly higher. I'm still waiting on some news from them though. So the problem is now you're going to have resistance up around 475 to 5. the key here for ELYS is that I've gotten my average down quite well. So I want to say it's sub 450 at this point. But the key is that it's got to get back over 5. So I'm probably going to sell some up around that 475 to 5 just to lighten my share load a little bit in case it does get rejected there. And then I'll be buying those shares back for dips and then ride the rest on up. That's kind of my plan because I have got my average down to, I want to say it's sub 450, which is good. I think it's like 443-ish, which I'm fine with that. So surprised I haven't mentioned. Yeah, there it is. Here it is. Yeah, keep buying. Kathy Wood keeps buying. ARK Invest keeps buying DraftKings. And I think she was saying too last week, she's like, hey, with the sell-offs we've been seeing lately, it's setting them up really nice because she's like, yeah, instead of compounding at X percent, like 10%, whatever it is, 13%, I forget what the number she says, that they're looking to compound at, they're looking at 20, 25, 30%, something like that, as they're looking at their yearly compounding rate going forward the next couple of years. So because of these dips that they've been able to buy up. So they've been buying. The question's going to be, right, I think Kathy Wood did very well in a very strong market last year. The question will be if a lot of her plays end up panning out, she'll be up and she'll make that next leg up in terms of like, I guess, status, in terms of like, like everyone talks about like, oh, the next Warren Buffett. I mean, she's got a different style, a different approach, right? But she kind of will get up into that next threshold if this stuff, look back in 3, 4, 5 years, and if all her plays that she's buying heavily now on these dips, if they pan out, she's going to look like a genius, even though everyone's panic selling right now, which, I mean, hey, it is what it is. But we'll see what happens. More of a chance. I'm getting to your question if you provide context. Exactly. I don't just, if someone puts a ticker in there without any context behind it, I'm just not going to even bother. SBLK, sort of Ivy, not a penny so much. Let's take a look. Well, that thing has been crazy. That's a runner right there. That's crazy. I want to pull up CTRM. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I want to pull up Tops CTRM. I want to pull out shippers. You generally kind of see oil and shippers kind of pushing at the same time. PSHG is another shipper. Let's look at Tops. Tops was a fun one. Oh, man, not TOPS. Tops ships. This guy just had earnings. They just spike a little bit. They come back down to a favorable spot. I kind of like that chart. It's looking decent. I kind of like that. Let's look at SHIP and then we'll look at CTRM. SHIP is kind of grinding up here off of hitting 85-cent support, so it's grinding back its way on up. CTRM, another one that everybody loved. I have to say, this is one of those stocks that I can't tell you guys. Like, I have, so if you guys don't already know, there should be links in the description box. I have another channel, Stock Trends. So I pretty much what I'll do there is if there's a stock or there's something going on that I just would rather talk about in kind of more one at a time, on like a one at a time basis in terms of a stock, I'll talk about it there. So if there's news, if there's a lot of attention on it, it's not biased. 95% of the times I'm not actually in the stocks when I talk about them, and I would say sometimes I'll trade a stock, depending upon. Sometimes I'll be trade OCGN. I trade it short a lot of the time. Whereas the thing about that stuff is I make the video just to kind of point out key level of support, resistance, the news that's driving it, things like that. CTRM was a stock I can't tell you how many times back when it was getting hyped that I was like, just be careful with this stock. Be careful. They are a dilution machine. They are a this is a dilution machine. A lot of these shipping companies, man, they're not that good. You talk about how you dive deeper into those. Obviously, what do I know about these shipping companies? But I just know from trading them in the past how they generally like to behave and how they react. And I was like, hey, CTRM over $1. I was like, this is going to come back under $1 pretty fast, and it did. And also, you got all the people who are like, no, man, they got more vessels. They got more vessels. They're going to be the best. Whatever you want to say. At the time, back when it was like over $1, I was like, you can get all the good news you want right now. This is probably coming back down. And there'll be another time for this play, but right now could be an opportunity, maybe looking for a bounce. I think the 200 SMA, well, I've been noticing a lot lately too. The 200 simple moving average, the MA 200 right here on the daily chart, has been seemingly a pretty good area of support lately. A lot of stocks coming back down to that level. So CTRM down to like 40 cents seems like it could be a good support. So the risk reward here might actually make some sense risking a couple cents to the downside, playing this thing for a move of maybe 5, 10, 15 cents upside, or just riding it on up if it gets that momentum. So I would have it on the list. I think it's one that's on my list for sure. And then let's see. I wanted to pull up. Sorry if I'm missing some stuff. I wanted to pull up PSHG. Let's pull this bad boy up. This chart looks good down here towards like 430-ish, 425 support. I like that. That's actually I like that chart a lot. I'll write it on the list. Where's my pen? Here it is. PSHG. I like that chart. There's also Pixie. Pixie, right? This is a shipper. Shift Pixie. No, is it not Pixie? No, Pixie's not a shipper. Is it? I forget. Wasn't there a shipper? There was a shipper that was also in the crypto mining space. Not gonna lie, like that actually is pretty interesting. I was kind of like looking a little bit deeper the past couple of days into like how that stuff works in mining Bitcoin and mining crypto. It's actually kind of a cool, like it would be a kind of a cool rig to kind of set up in like an office or something, if you had the space for it. So I don't know. I was just thinking about it. Like it's kind of an interesting thing. Hit that thumbs up when you walk in the door. That's all it's about, because the idea here, guys, is that you hit the thumbs up button, we get more ideas flowing in the chat, more ideas, someone drops a banger that ends up being a monster this week or next week, and we all bank on it. That's the intention. Because more likes pumps it out to more people, we get more people in here, more ideas, that's it. That's all it's about. Everyone loves CTRM, and I just sat there and watched it fall hard. I mean, I wasn't shorting it, right? I'm not going to short it, but I was like, this is probably coming down. I mean, to be honest, it probably was. Now, looking back, right, you can kind of see how this stuff works, and now you can be prepared for next time. So if the hard-to-borrow rates on some of these stocks aren't that expensive, like do the math. I have a video on the TC trading channel, how to short stocks on Webull, a live example of how to calculate hard-to-borrow fees and all that stuff. So for example, if I go to CTRM, now looking back, I probably should have shorted this thing when I saw it over $1. I probably could have just got a short position on this thing and said, I'm just going to wait this one out, small position, nothing crazy, but I'm going to wait this thing out for 25, 30% gains. Like I'm looking for this thing to come down a lot, right? Now, the hard to borrow fees here, it's telling me 7%. Is that? No, maybe that's not. So let's just say that you can borrow CTRM for 7% per year, right? To borrow those shares short. If you do the math on how much it's actually going to cost you per day, it's like pennies, depending on how many shares you want to borrow. But at that point, right, if you're looking for that 25, 30% gains on your CTRM play in, let's say, a month, 2-month period, you're probably going to be just fine. Like you're going to make so much more than what those fees could be. Obviously, if it happens sooner rather than later, in terms of a dip, you're golden. You're making even more money. But that's where it kind of makes some sense. So next go around, I will be ready for this stuff, especially going into the summer. If we get some crazy runs into the summer, I will probably be ready to go in terms of some small swing position short. That's what I'm doing with RHE. Now, RHE is a super small position because I don't want to be the super low float stock. I kind of know what I'm doing there as well, but also that is an expensive to borrow stock right now. So, yeah. Show people how to find Simply Play through FinViz. You can show them how to. Yes. Yeah. So what I want to do, we can do that really quick. One thing to also note with FinViz, you got to be, which is really useful. So if you go into FinViz, right? People always ask me, how do you find a Simply Play or whatever? If I go to like Tops, for example, right? If I pull up Tops up here, and I go into like, okay, we're on Tops. How do I find stocks that are like Tops in sector? Well, you click on these different. You can just click on these different options right here under Tops. I'll give you a bunch of sectors. So if I click on marine shipping, boom, right here we're gonna get, 30 tickers. We got 30 tickers in the shipping space. Boom. Then you can come in here. You can sort by which ones have the most volume. Boom. Double click on that. CTRM, SHIP, SBLK, DSX, NAT. Like boom, just like that. And then of course you can sort by price if you want to as well. So if you're looking for stocks that are under $1, you can sort by price as well. That's one way to go about it. Also, another way to go about it too would be, let's say you're looking for like shipping. You just type in shipping up in the search, right? If I click on shipping, what you're going to get is you're going to get a bunch of tickers that if they have shipping in the name, in the description somewhere, they'll pull it up. Now, I'm going to get 10. This is only going to give me 10 items in the search. Now, it's not going to be the... Oh, it was Sino. Sino was that Bitcoin play. I'll talk about that one in a second. But then it'll pull up. So you can actually see that this is a dry bulk shipping ETF you can play. There's BSET. And sometimes it'll be like... It'll pull up like Amazon, right? Obviously, I don't want Amazon because it's got free ship. It has free shipping. So, like, I don't want that. But that's one other way to go about it, but then it'll give you the industry, so it'll give you a lot of different things. Like, for example, marine shipping, boom, or freight and logistics, that's helpful to go off of as well. But Sino is that stock. Sino is in the crypto mining space, also a shipping company, right? Also a shipper, a lower float shipper down to about under 13 million share float. This is coming down a lot too. Let's look at the chart on Sino on Webull. The reason that I was saying that 200 SMA, look at it. It's at that level as well. And we have a bunch of these lows that it's come down to in the past. That's why I think we're at a pretty crucial point on a lot of these stocks that have come down to bottoms, because they're coming down to where they have dipped in the past, and they're kind of coming down a little bit further. The question is now, are they going to come down? Are they going to just drop the floor out and come down for a bigger ride down, or are they going to bounce a little bit right here? And are we going to start seeing some bounces off the 200 SMA area, off of some of these dips? I would probably argue that we're going to see some bounces pretty soon. So Sino, for example, one of those plays, they have a lot in the tank in terms of potential. They drop a crypto PR, boom, it's probably going to push. If Bitcoin's pushing up, it's probably going to push, right? If they drop a PR or if shippers start running, it's probably going to go as well. So it's kind of got like, I kind of like that play in terms of like, if you want something for a couple different sectors in one, you kind of got Sino as one of those decent plays in terms of two sectors that could be pretty hot. Here we go. So I'll pull up Sino. They got some PRs to acquire a majority of blockchain infrastructure developer in a $5 million stock transaction. They expand cryptocurrency market position with the acquisition of 2,783 digital currency mining servers. So they're in that space as well. On top of that, NFT, they're in the NFT. Yeah, of course, they got it all. They do NFTs, they do crypto, they do. That's one of those stocks. That's a fun one to trade. Not necessarily the best investment. Most likely, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that probably isn't good. They're offering machine. They got some offerings coming in here. Let's see anything else. So yeah, they really kind of transitioned, looks like, into the crypto space, or at least they're expanding that aspect of the business. But Sino is one of those that I kind of think could be a good play as well. So we'll see. It's coming down. You know, not a stock I want to hold very long, but for a bounce here, cut it for a loss here. If it drops under that 365, cut it. That's how I'd play it. But let's see. MP gonna explode. I hope MP does explode, because I'm sitting here with my MP. Where am I at? I have an average. I want to say I have an average like in the 30s though. Isn't that bad? I'm gonna buy more if it just falls a little bit further, but that's that. Scrolling back up. Let's see. Sorry if I'm missing some stuff. Let's see. OSW, swing trading aspects of OSW. Let's see, OSW. What's up with OSW? One Spa World Holdings. I don't know much about them, but this does have a nice trend. So back up here to pre-pandemic highs up here in the 15 to 17 range. You're sitting at 10, so you have some more room to the upside. But if you were to just kind of draw a rough trend through this guy, there's my trend line roughly. You know, it did dip down below it once, but we have a lot of points in this trend line, so we have a bunch of points. It's sitting at a pretty good spot. I don't want to see this thing making kind of a lower low in a sense, or not continuing to make higher lows. So the next level for a higher low here on the daily would mean this thing has to hold over $10 roughly. So OSW, if you're looking for a swing, it seems like a pretty stress-free swing in terms of grinding its way back on up. I don't know much about the company yet, but it seems of grinding its way back on up to like $15. I would say $15 would be my target on this one, but I would want to say, okay, I'm looking for a $15 target, and this one's one of those slower movers that I'd say, hey, I'm risking it down to $10. So I'm gonna risk about 50, maybe I'll risk 75 cents down to like 9.75. I'll risk 75 cents on it, but my target is legitimately going to be $15. On a slower mover, maybe a couple. Wait, what is this? This isn't even trading right now. Oh yeah, it is. On a slower mover, yeah. I was like, I messed up on the time frame. On a slower mover, that is kind of like a sit back and let it do its thing in the background. Just make sure I'm monitoring that $10 level. Maybe I set a price alert, for example. I could set like a price alert here at like 10 bucks. This price falls below, $10. Alert me, and I'll be alerted. Hey, price fell below 10 bucks. Check it out. And I'll come back and I'll check it out. But that's not a bad idea. Let's see. Go to RHE on Finviz, go to Sympathies and switch volume. Yeah, SSY, AMS, that was a good one too, because you started noticing that when RHE ran, SSY, AMS ran. I got caught. I'll tell you that one. That's a funny story. So RHE, right, and AMS, two stocks I got caught in short, small shares, but I got caught in short. The problem was that I was looking to average up on my short. I just didn't do so because there was no more shares available at the time that I wanted to average up because they started running up throughout the day. There was no shorts available. So what ended up happening for RHE, I think I explained it in a video at some point, but I got caught in RHE back here. So I was shorting RHE here at like 9 bucks, thinking it was going to fail and come back down. Then I ended up getting screwed where I had my average of like 10 bucks. The thing went to 16. I was unable to get out the next day. I got my average up to like 10.50 and then I covered at 9. But I could have had the same thing happen again the next day. I think I was out. But AMS was one of those where the same thing kind of happened on AMS. I got caught in this. I was shorting AMS. I want to say I shorted it. There was availability on AMS, I believe, in the after hours, early on in the after hours. So I grabbed something short around 4 bucks, I want to say, on AMS. The problem was I was going to cover it the next day. I was looking for a bigger move down. I was looking for it to come back down towards like 3, even sub 3. But I was looking for 3 bucks as my target. So I wanted to stick to that $3 target. The problem was that all of a sudden in the after hours, the thing went from 350 and it hit 650. Now, that could completely destroy something. They can get margin called and get blown up. But that's why I'm going in super small on a low float stock that I'm going to short, right? I'm going in super small. I was able to get out just fine because the next day I was able to short some more as it was up in like the $5 range. I grabbed some more on the short side. I got my average up closer to 5. The thing comes down here, the market opens, and it plummets on down towards 325. I just covered at that point because I was already green. I wanted to move on. But again, this is one that probably comes down here and eventually gets back down to 3. So it's not a stock that I was really worried about in terms of having an issue in terms of losing money on the trade necessarily, because I knew it was going to come back down. It was kind of just a matter of how long would they kind of milk this one out in a sense, right? So that's that. But that's the risk. That's the risk that you have. That is the risk. Let's see. Any sites like intrinsic values? The best sites that I would be in terms of researching, in terms of diving into more of not just like technicals, would be I'd say probably the best site that I would be using right now is TipRanks. That's my like favorite site in terms of diving into more of the numbers, diving into behind the scenes and getting access to all the information that you pretty much need in one spot. TipRanks is probably the best. Remember you were celebrating that you were going to get out of AMS and the after hours happened. Yeah, that was nuts. I literally, and it was what pissed me off on this one too, which is not pissed me off, but it's what happens, is that you think about it, okay, right? The thing at 650, okay, just add to your short. Yeah, I would have, but there was no availability at the time, right? There was no more shares to short at the time. So I had to wait till the next day. Next day, pre-market, I was able to grab some more, but at that point, it was already back down like sub 5, and so I couldn't average to the, I couldn't get the average up as much as I wanted to, but it is what it is. Take another shot at FSR. FSR's a pain now. FSR they all got hit. They're all getting hit. This thing fell below that support like 1450. It said screw that. It's just gonna go down for some fun. The reason why I'm gonna hold it, I'm still holding FSR. It's speculative, yeah, but I've sold covered calls that I think I literally could at this point, like my cost basis is probably like $1 on FSR. I've sold so many covered calls on it like every single week. Especially when it's green. When it had its little green pops back in here, I was selling covered calls and they were juicy covered calls. I was selling those for like $2 a pop, some of them, and they ended up not hitting. So I kept the premiums. So you're getting paid $200 per covered call. Do the math on how if my average was like already as it was down around like $11 in terms of shares as it was, and I've been selling covered calls the past couple of months, yeah, I mean, this is probably, you know, I haven't looked at it, but I know my cost basis has got to be crazy low on it. But that's at least that. Every stock I short. No, yes and no. Tilray was one that I had for a short. My mistake was not trading it long intraday on Friday. And these are just small. I mean, I'm kind of just having some fun with it. I realized once it was getting rejected by this line right here, it was a short. It was a really good short. The problem was I just missed out on trading it long. So I ended up starting my short too early, and I had to kind of average up into that. And then eventually it got the sell-off that I wanted. It fell back to like 16. I was targeting 16. But it wasn't a crazy, Tilray's not a crazy fast low float mover. It moved pretty nice, but it wasn't a crazy mover. So I thought Tilray on a stock that popped up $3. Tilray is one of the stocks that in the past has kind of had those afternoon sell-offs after making some strides. It's been a stock that in the past pops and kind of falls back off quite normally. I think it's obviously looking at the daily chart. I think it could be setting up for a reversal. But again, look at Tilray. 200 SMA, same thing. It's the same setup. I think the 200 SMA balance right now is looking like a lot of stocks. That's the pattern. The 200 period simple moving average, the MA 200. That's the average we're looking at on the daily chart right now. Seems like that's the bounce zone, or just above it. ETH to 5K. That's nuts. Let's pull it up. I bought in late too on Ethereum. I bought in late, and it hit over. Wow, look at this thing. This is nuts. It's looking super strong. I bought in super late on it too, and I'm like pissed I didn't buy more. Now I have more ETH than Bitcoin, just because it's gone up so much more than Bitcoin lately. I think I originally bought the same amount when I got some money. I took money out of Robinhood a while ago, and I put it into BlockFi instead to keep my crypto there. And I bought whatever I had Bitcoin in Robinhood. I sold whatever I had in Robinhood, and I took that amount and I split it up between like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe like something else. I split it up evenly, and now I have significantly more Ethereum, right, as it's pushed up crazy. But we were looking at this last week. I think we were looking at this last week, and it was like pushing up around like 3K, and then eventually broke through. But it's been straight up since. I don't know what to do with some of these, because like knowing me, right, in terms of stocks, I want to take some profits off the table here, but at the same time, I don't. I want to let this thing ride. I might sell a little bit and let it continue to ride up. I just want to make sure that I maximize how we play out. Obviously, you're gonna have the cycles in crypto, so I'm kind of not concerned, but I want to make sure that I don't get caught up too much right now in like everything going up, and then end up having to hold all my crypto through that downtrend. Then at the end of the day, you can't time it. But we'll see how the rest of the year, I guess, goes in terms of the crypto market, bull market wise. I'm not the best crypto guy though to talk to. But outside of that, Doge, pull up Doge again for those who are tuning in. I just want to pull this bad boy up. Dogecoin. It's what I was kind of also worried about too, I will say, was you have all the diamond hands, you have all that stuff. From the couple of things, I just tuned in while Doge was crashing last night. There's a bunch of people who were going live. I just tuned in, and the morale was, just from my outside view, was super low, was like super like emotionally draining. That's the whole problem I think that people had, is that what probably happened was you probably had a lot of people who panic sold and freaked out, whether you really wanted to or not, and sold their Doge here down under 50 cents, and then ended up now are buying it back over 55. That's the problem in terms of psychology. That's just what happens. So I was kind of telling people, hey, if you're happy with your gains, take something off the table here. And now what you could have done, looking back, obviously hindsight's 2020. If let's say you had Doge, let's say you had $100 in, right? You could have sold $50 at the highs, or pre-SNL, right? Pre-event, buy the rumor, sell the news. That's like a standard thing in stocks. We see it all the time. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Always sell into that PDUFA. There's a PDUFA date. You're waiting for an FDA approval. You're waiting for data to come out on a certain date. If the stock's running up in advance of that, at least sell half, sell something, take some profits off the table, okay? And then usually the news comes out. Sometimes the news could be good, it could be bad, doesn't matter. People just need a reason to sell. Boom, they sell the news. And was SNL skits a reason to sell Doge? No. What does that have to mean? Realistic, right? What does that realistically have to do with Doge? Like nothing at all, other than Elon Musk being on there, right? So people sold, and you could have taken, if you really wanted to, if you really like Doge, you could have sold half, sold some, and now you could have bought it back at like 50. You could have had a plan saying, hey, if it drops like the 50 cents, I might buy a little more. You could have bought some more, and you're looking pretty. That's, looking back, if you wanted to do that could have been a great idea. Again, hindsight's 2020 though. Binance customer service is terrible. I haven't used Binance personally. ETH to 30K by end of year. I mean, I'll ride it. I don't care. I'm not taking until process end of summer. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thought process that I want, like the swing trader. I mean, in a stock sense, is like, hey, I got to take something off. But at the same time, we're talking crypto. We're not talking stocks. We're talking it's a different language. So the problem is that, the cycles. I like that the people are talking about the cycles and how end of summer into the end of this year is probably towards the end of this bull cycle. So that's at least from what I've been seeing. Again, what do I know? And what does everybody know, right? Anything can happen, right? There could be U.S. regulation tomorrow. They can come out and be like, hey, we're going to regulate the crap out of this stuff. If you have capital gains from crypto, we're going to tax it at like 75%. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm very, very certain we're going to see some sort of regulation from the U.S. at some point. I don't know when. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a massive tax on your crypto gains, because it would then incentivize you to invest your money into the stock market or something else rather than go crypto. I don't know. I'm just saying that's just my thoughts on some of that stuff. But we'll see what happens. I've been seeing CIDM. Let's pull this one up. CIDM. How is this guy hanging? Pull up the daily on it. This looks like it's decent, actually. It looks like it's uptrending. We kind of have higher lows being put in. I kind of like this, actually. If we take a look, we can draw some of these trend lines. I can adjust some of these trend lines. Let's get rid of one of these. Let's get rid of that. Let's put a trend line from here. Can we connect anything? Yeah, we can. We got a bunch of touches right there. Look at that. So we got 1, we got 2, we got 3, 4, 5 touches. This is a good trend. So I would like to see this thing holding up over like 120-ish. Don't really want to see it going below 110. That would realistically 115, but to hold that trend. But it looks pretty good. And I would say first targets I'd probably have towards like 150 to 160. Then if it gets over there, we got some of these highs up towards like 225. So I'd probably say 225 would be the next level to go if we can get over the 150-60 area. I like that setup. The setup looks pretty good for CIDM. This kind of has that kind of coiling setup where you can probably trade it in range for a couple months, and then you're ideally looking for a breakout over 250-ish, over 225 for a bigger move on CIDM, kind of like we saw back in the past. That would be a really nice move on CIDM. I like that. I like that stock. Setup looks pretty good. Let's see. Doge is pure gambling, but fun. Yeah, I know. People, it was nuts when when SNL came on, Doge spiked up, and I was like, oh my, like, is it really gonna just go straight up? And then it came down hard, like really quick, and I was like, oh, that's kind of everyone was kind of expecting. I feel like now there are people who are shorting it. Looking back, that could have been pretty good. It was like a 40% move or something like that, or 45% move from the highs, which would have been really good for those who are potentially shorting it. But yeah, you kind of have both sides of it there. I don't know how easy that is and how, I guess, available or widely available the shorting aspect of cryptos and stuff are. I know you can do it, and I know you can do it on leverage. I just don't know how widely accessible that is to a lot of people. It's kind of, I don't know, we'll see. PRPO, this is one that, PRPO. Looking at the bounce, this is one that I feel like I recall from this week. Yep, this is coming down, but here's the question is like, okay, if it bounces, I would like to see it bouncing around this level because the prior highs were back here up from like 425 to like 350. So I would like to see it holding like 350-ish for a bounce. If not, I mean, it probably comes down to like 275, even further. That's the question of PRPO. Crazy mover though, had a 2-day run, which is interesting. I mean, a lot of these stocks, a lot of these low floaters we've been seeing, they've had multi-day runs, not just like a one and done. They've had some multi-day runs, which has been fun. PRPO, I would like to see it. And why is that? Prior resistance becoming a support. So, okay, we drop in some bands here, roughly speaking. I would like to see this area holding up as new support for PRPO for it to make a bounce back up. If not, I don't know. I wouldn't be a big fan. It may. The problem I think we're going to have for stocks like this, for those bounce plays or the 3-day plays or the kind of like RHE, where at multiple days in a row, kind of a push up, pull back, and it kind of hit higher highs, higher lows. what you're going to have is that, okay, where do we see the attention? Does the attention all go onto a different stock come Monday morning? Does some stock come out and drop some crazy news? We were talking about, if you guys are jumping in now, go back to the first like 15 minutes. We talked about oil stocks. Does everyone jump into oil stocks because of this news right here? Where is it? Because of, here it is. So the largest fuel pipeline under a cyber attack. Is that news going, and oil prices pushing on up, gas pushing on up? Is that going to send oil stocks flying? And so do we see low float oil stocks? We've been seeing super low float stocks running, but is it low float oil stocks next? Is there somewhat of a sector attached to it? If that happens, what's going to happen for these low float stocks from last week, maybe looking for bounces, the attention may get sucked out of those and into something else. So it's going to be kind of, where is the shiny object head? If there's no shiny object, if things are super quiet one day or just in general this week, then you want to look back to last week. What were the big runners last week? Find those, and if something starts holding up at support, for example, like look at PRPO. If PRPO, for example, starts to kind of curl and hold 350 and starts to kind of curl back on up to like 375, up towards 4, maybe it gets hit again, boom, it pops on up. You get a quick, dollar move on PRPO, you can make it a solid percentage gain and get out, right? But if the attention goes elsewhere, that's the danger, I guess, of the downside of these. They have pretty big downside. Best app. It depends on what you want. Obviously these days, we're using Webull right now. I have links to get 2 free stocks and all that stuff in the pinned comments and everything. I use it all the time. I like it. It depends on your needs. For more active trading, but more of like for an active trading platform, 4 a.m. trading all the way to 8 p.m. in the US, I think you can't go wrong with at least having a Webull account. Outside of Webull, I would probably recommend E-Trade, TradeZero. I know Interactive Brokers is pretty good as well. I probably would say if I'm going to make another account, my next account is going to be TradeZero, just not right now. But eventually I'll probably make a TradeZero account. Maybe I'll do like a challenge or something in there when I start it, like a couple $100 and we'll see what happens. But I would probably recommend those. I would not recommend Robinhood personally, with all the issues that they've had. Also on top of that, if you're just like a brand new investor, you're not necessarily looking to trade, yeah, there's the appeal. Robinhood has the appeal. It's simple to use. Okay, cool. Now there's Public. I know Graham Stephan's talking about Public. I think he invested into them. They don't sell your order flow. There's another app like that, but there's a bunch of apps these days out there. So it really depends on your preference. There's no harm in literally signing up for all these apps, getting all the sign-up bonuses, and then finding out which one you like the most. Okay, I'm going to delete this app. I'll cash my money out, put the money into this account, right? And just kind of churning through. Just like people can churn through bank accounts and credit cards, you can churn trading accounts and just find what works best for you. Sign up for all those accounts, get those bonuses, and then, okay, I don't like it anymore, cash out, move on, right? So I think the Webull bonuses, that's why I was saying months back when they were doing 4 free stocks when you sign up, I was like, guys, if you haven't gotten the account, just do it now because this is not going to last. And it hasn't lasted. Now they're down to 2 free stocks. Eventually, that 2 free stock promo is probably going to be gone. It's probably going to be like 1 free stock or something else eventually, just because they can't afford to keep up on that pace. And literally just paying everybody out, tons of money in free stocks if people are not going to use the platform. And I think people are using the platform, but that's not going to last, I don't think. They got to make their money. They got to turn a profit. They got to start turning some profits, right? COCP is a balance play as well. Yes, COCP just closed their offering. I actually have a small swing position in that as well. Offering closed at 153, I believe, or 154-ish. It's trading 20 cents below that, so I like this one for a bounce as well. It came right back down to where it was, so I think the risk reward in this one for a bounce play is pretty good. It filled the gap we had, a gap right here on the gap up from the 3rd to the 4th. Filled that gap, and I think we could be setting up for a pushback on up on COCP. So we'll see. That's an EBON. EBON is nuts. EBON. This is the thing with EBON is I saw people trying to hit it on Friday. They did. They tried to hit this one on Friday. They popped it up a little bit. The thing about it is that it has been dead in the water. Just short tack, just no lower volume generally, and they mine Dogecoin. So the thing about EBON, they mine Dogecoin. So you'd think Dogecoin goes up, EBON goes up. Now because the whole event, I don't know. This would have been nuts if Dogecoin actually hit $1 this weekend or hit like 90 cents or was over 75 cents. This could be a really good play. I don't know. I tried it a couple days back when Dogecoin was hitting up over like 60 cents or something like that, and I tried it and it just got crushed. It sold off hard, at the open on that day. And I tried to take it for a day trade. It just didn't pan out. So it's been interesting. Eventually, it's going to get let loose. It's going to get turned around. But I think, trying to catch that bottom is going to be tough. So you can maybe give it a shot every day, kind of watch it, see how it's handling, see how it's performing. And then if you're noticing something's changing, something's different, it looks like it's running differently, it's moving a lot smoother, boom, then maybe that's an opportunity to say, okay, something changed, I'm going to catch it right now, boom, and I'll take it. This thing has range. Plenty of range. So same thing with the Maras, the Riots. I was looking at those today. Yeah, they're valued at like crazy levels. If you look at like Mara and Riot market cap wise, let's look at Mara. MARA. You're looking at, because I was looking at Bitcoin, it's been kind of grinding on up. Mara, you're turning on, continue, whatever is this? Oh, I never had that. $3 billion market cap. Riots, I believe, a $2 billion market cap. So like those are pretty high levels, which is why, I think we're seeing the pretty big sell-offs we've been seeing. Of course, tech's been getting hit. High growth's been getting hit. Yes, these were crazy runners the past year. Yes, okay, let them get hit. It's just going to be when do we finally see them switch out of this mode of selling off despite Bitcoin? And that's the question. So if we look at Bitcoin, let's pull up Bitcoin really quick. Look at Bitcoin's chart here. I'm going to pull up the 1 hour chart on Bitcoin and zoom out. Bitcoin's actually, after having this kind of pretty big sell-off, it has been grinding back up pretty nicely. We can kind of see a rough trend, right? Bitcoin putting in, a kind of a slow uptrend, stair-stepping its way back on up. Now, I think it's going to be, when we finally catch attention, is that either we're going to get some crypto news, or Bitcoin's got to probably pop over 60K again, and then, which could happen tomorrow, who knows? And then everyone goes, wait a sec, why are Mara and Riot still going down? Then they'll hammer them. That's my thought process. I don't know. We'll see. Those are potentially some good swings. Now, the problem with them is that they are valued at pretty high levels. So the issue would be, or my concern would be, I would want to catch them, right, once we start seeing that flip and Bitcoin starts ripping on up. The problem is that if Bitcoin takes its time and it gets back up to 60K and then it falls back off, then those are probably going to fall back off as well. So it's like, it's a weird swing. I would probably cancel out the noise. If you believe in them, you believe in them. If you believe in Bitcoin, you probably grab them for swings, toss them in an account, and don't worry about them too much, and have some cash available to add to those positions if you like them, and that's it. And let Bitcoin do its thing. It's probably the better way to go about it. COCP has so much short volume, it's impossible for those to. We'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens. Let's see. Hasn't been too many reverse splits. Oh, wait a sec. That's right. We were talking about NSPR last week or past 2 weeks. I like it a lot right here. But the problem with NSPR right here, my issue with NSPR, is they have earnings, right? Where is it? They have earnings on the 11th in the morning. So I am probably not going to touch it now. I may tomorrow buy NSPR for a day trade only. If I see it drop below 5 or I like it, for example, I may do it. And then I will sell it before the end of the day because they have earnings on Tuesday in the pre-market. After that, I think they're presenting at a conference on Friday, I want to say. That could be a play. I don't know. The problem is that if earnings are decent, or if there's news in the earnings that's nice, it may spark it anyway. So it's going to be one of those plays where it's going to be kind of a pain. If it runs off earnings, I'm just not willing to hold through the earnings right now. Don't want to get caught in one of those. I just don't need to do that right now. So I'm not going to do it. But I may grab something tomorrow if it's down under 5. I may grab it, or in the low 5s, I may grab it for a quick day trade. And if after earnings we get more of a stabilization and kind of holds up in this level, then I'll probably grab it again for a swing. That's my take. LMFA had a reverse split as well. Let's pull up LMFA. Yeah, this thing has been it's been weird. Had a push, right? Had a push up here. Look where it got rejected, at exactly that 50 SMA. 50 period simple moving average on the daily chart. Perfect. I mean, it had that resistance in the past. So that area has proven to be an area of resistance up around $6.40 right now, and it closed back down to 4-ish. It closed at 447. It's down 10% in the after hours, so $4. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to mess with this one, honestly, unless it came down to like under 4. Maybe it's a better spot. I'd give it some time, let this one shake out for a couple of days. NSPR super free. Yeah, I'll give it. So we'll see what happens. I'll give it a couple of days after the earnings, then maybe we'll take a shot. I mean, I'll play it pretty much chart based. So in today's video, I think I did a perfect example. I went over, it was a support resistance video. I was like, hey, NSPR is at support, so here's how I play it. let's say I'm buying this stock, I buy a chunk, or I buy, let's just say I bought my entire position at $5. I'm going to risk it down to 423 or to 420, yeah, so 423, so 425-ish area. I'm going to risk it 75 cents. My first target is going to be $6. My second target is going to be the 200 SMA, which is up here. We have prior resistance up there at 775. So I'm going to play it like that. I'm going to risk 75 cents. And I'm going to target, first target, I'm going to sell half my shares at $6. Second target, I'm going to sell the rest of my shares, or the next chunk of my shares at 775. If it keeps running, I'll leave some shares to ride. If it gets rejected there, I'll cut the position off. Boom. Swing trade. Boom. There it is. That's my plan for an SPR. Simple. Going to keep it simple as that. That's it. If we get an opportunity, if things cool off and they're nice and chill post earnings. If we get some crazy spike up or down, I'll probably just stay away from that for a little bit. But if things don't really move, I'll take it. That's a play. Crypto's going crazy. Do you swing trade? No, I don't. I only have a bunch. I have Bitcoin, I have Ethereum. That's it. I hold them long. That's it. I have them in BlockFi, so they earn some interest, but that's it. I don't really mess with that stuff. I rather not personally, because I don't want to kind of start messing around with that. Personally, I don't know enough, so I'm not going to try to pretend that I know a lot and start talking about that stuff, first off. And second off, I just would rather spend my time on stocks anyway, rather than that for right now. And that's just me. Everyone's different in terms of all these different coins that are running on up and everything. There's opportunity. There's so much opportunity. You can make so much. Percentage gains, it's nuts. But not for me. I'll stick to stocks so that when everyone comes back from crypto to stocks, at least I've been here. I'm ready to go. It's how I see it. Offering crushes the price. Worth a look for a gap up on FAMI. It's already kind of popped, though. My only concern is that it had a pop to around 58 cents. It's come back down. So let's see if it comes back down. Offering was around 30 cents, I believe. So let's see if it comes back down to that range-ish, and then that could be an opportunity for a snag on FAMI. So let's take a last look here at futures and see what we're looking at. So everything's looking pretty good, up about 0.25% across the board. The Dow, we got the S&P, we got the NASDAQ, small caps. For now, this could all change. This all could change, but we'll see. Do you have any videos on reading the anticipated earnings reports or how I trade? Generally, I don't believe I do have a specific video on that, but generally what I'll do is I will just literally not, if I'm in a stock, like for example, VISL, I'm holding through the earnings report on that one. I like this one longer term, but for most of the time, most penny stocks I will play. I have a longer term idea or outlook on this one, and I think there's a lot of people I've been seeing like this one as well. But I have a longer term thesis on this one or outlook, so I'm willing to hold a stock like this through the earnings. A stock that I don't know as much about, number one, or if I'm playing a stock for a sector, like for example, if I'm playing like CEI, like I don't know enough about the stock personally, but I know it runs, and when oil runs, this runs. So I'll play this one for the oil sector, but if I'm holding CEI, I'm like, hey, they got earnings coming out on like Monday or Tuesday or whatever they have, I'm not going to hold through earnings. So that's how I'll play it. Generally, it's one of those buy the rumor, sell the news. If people are anticipating good numbers in the earnings and there's a run up into the earnings, then I'll probably take something off the table. Even if I have a longer thesis on the stock, that's just showing that there's a lot of attention on the stock. Many times you got to buy the rumor, sell the news. It's kind of that's really how I do it. Buy the rumor, sell the news, earnings, data, PDUFAs, all that type of stuff. Generally in the same kind of threshold categories. How I will generally play them. That's not a bad idea for a video. You won't sell if they run up huge amounts. No, if they run up huge amounts, I will. But like for VISL, if that thing runs to like $5, I'm taking pretty much everything off the table. I would say if it runs to 5 in a short period of time. If it grinds to 5, that's a different story. I'll play it as it has momentum on some of these plays. Ideally, like for VISL, I'm not looking for this thing. This is probably not gonna go straight up to 5. Like if it goes to 5, great. But if it kind of turns the corner, grinds back up, gets over 3, holds $3 as support, pushes back up to maybe 4, I'll be selling pops and then buying back on dips and stuff generally. But yeah, I'm not gonna like if one of these stocks I'm in, and it doesn't matter what it is. If I have a longer term thesis on it, short term, I'll keep it on my radar. But if it runs 100%, 50%, I'm probably taking profits. Most. Depending upon the stock. Obviously, some that I may hold longer, but probably take something off, let it cool back off, develop some support. Once I realize that support, then I'll add back half my size or something like that, just to kind of keep it up. and ride it up further. So that said, I'm going to probably wrap things up here, guys, about an hour and 20 minutes in. If you guys missed the beginning, go back to the beginning. We talked about a lot of oil stocks because of the pipeline issues going on right now for tomorrow. It could be the play. Those could be the play this week. It's going to be interesting. A lot of low flow oil plays, a lot of low flow oil penny plays that are setting up. So that said, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us through that first initial. We had those volume issues initially on the stream, so we ironed it out. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Stay green this week. I'm looking forward to this week. It's gonna be a good week, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.